Hi and welcome to MBS Academy's show called Real Lives, and today we're talking to Tim Dennis. Tim is a comedian by night and works in the software industry by day, and he's here today to talk about his journey towards being a comedian, mental health issues, and how he's overcome those. And we're very pleased to welcome you, Tim, today. How are you doing?
Thanks very much for having me, Jackie. Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm good. So we've had a little chat beforehand, and you told me that you were an only child. And
yeah. So it was one of those ones that. Yeah, it's very much one of those ones that as an only child, you wish that you have a brother and sister and things like that. But then as you get older, you kind of realise being an only child isn't too bad a thing. As I mentioned to you earlier, I'm not going to come on here and say, oh, I had a terrible upbringing, my parents were horrible. My parents were the best. I had the best parents. I had a great upbringing. But there's certain things as you get older that you start to realise. Things like you're living through your parents' eyes. I had to go through it, that I was kind of forced into going to university. I didn't really want to do university. I was kind of looking at drama school, but then just the financial cost of that, I didn't really want to put that on my mum and dad to finance me through that. I was in a fortunate position that my mum and dad were able to pay for kind of like things at university, so I didn't have to get myself into massive amounts of debt and things like that. So I was very fortunate, but it was very much a case of I didn't really want to go to university. Mum and dad wanted me to be the first dentist to go to university, which was great for them. But unfortunately, I then decided that I didn't want to be at university and spent 3 years getting pretty drunk and doing a lot of partying and a lot of experiencing life. And not probably looking back on it, well, not probably, definitely, not as much studying as I should have been doing. So it was one of those ones, if I would have had the whereabouts to kind of look at the state that I was in then, if I would have been able to turn around to my mum and dad and go, nope, I don't want to do that. It's not all about you. It's not about, and it's all very kind of old generation, new generation. It was very much, go get a degree, get yourself a job for life, get married, have kids, and all that, like it was set for like my parents. Get yourself a decent job, get yourself a wife. I mean, my mum and dad were married for 45 years. My dad passed away, so they were together for over 50 years, childhood sweethearts, and that's all they knew. So they just worked, were together, and that's very much what they wanted for me, which isn't necessarily wrong, but it's each individual person is different, and I think times change. And I think if I would have had someone to sit down and talk to, like, or even listen to a podcast like about something like that, I think it would have given me the bravery and the comfort to go, I'm not the only one that is having to do this. It would have been a great opportunity then to go, hey, look, I'm not happy. It's making me unhappy. And I think that's when things then not started to tumble, because I think tumble is the wrong word. As I mentioned to you earlier, I don't regret anything I've done in my life. I don't feel ashamed of anything that I've done in my life. And believe me, there's probably things that a lot of people feel ashamed that I have done. But it's part of growing up. It's having
life's rich experience.
It's part of growing up. Exactly, yeah. And as I said, I'm very much an advocate of life is not a dress rehearsal. And my dad always used to say to me, you're here for a good time, not a long time. So it's very much a case of,
you made sure
again, it's kind of going. Exactly, yeah. I want to make sure that if we ever decide to have kids, me and my partner, that I want to be able to turn around to my grandparents and say, this is what I did, not this is what you stopped you from doing. I'm very much that opinion that you get one crack at it, go at it. I would rather end up running and skidding into my grave at 50 miles per hour than just slowly shuffling towards it, put it that way. So it's being an only child has been great benefit, but it's also as well, I think mentally it's been a bit more of a struggle. As I said, you've got no one to compare it to. You've got no sibling to kind of go, I can't be bothered to go around and see, like when my dad was ill, I've got to go and do this and that. And it wasn't a problem, but there's just no one. You've got no sibling to, how about this? How about that? And yeah. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't a burden. I said we were quite fortunate that my mum and dad are like my best friends. And we were very close, the three of us. So all the rest of our family lived away. So we were very, very close all the time. So it was never an issue. It was just more of, I just wish I would have had the confidence in myself to be truthful to myself, and also as well, therefore truthful to my parents, to be able to go on and do what I would have wanted. If you ask me, what would I want? Which is a really
good lesson for maybe some younger listeners, maybe, you know,
definitely
teenagers, early 20s, who don't have doing exactly that, of going to university, doing what their parents wanted. And it's right, because having the confidence to say, I want to do this, you're also being honest to your parents, you know.
Exactly, and I think
it is honesty with your parents as well. So it's a very, very good point.
Absolutely, and I feel the thing as well is that at the end of the day, as a child, as a human being, it's just by nature, you just don't want to disappoint people. You don't want to let people down. You don't want to feel as though you're wronging people. And that's what I felt with my parents, was that I would, by not doing that, they'd be disappointed in me. And all it would have taken, and we've had the conversation after university, and we were very good at kind of after the fact, then obviously when you're a little bit more grown up, I'm nearly just about 39 now, so obviously this is going back nearly 20 years ago when I was at university. But after the fact, then obviously kind of going into my 30s, once I'd done what I wanted to do, I was able to sit down to my mum and dad and go, right, okay, what if I would have said this? And of course their answer was, we would have supported you 100% because it's what you would have wanted to do. We didn't know. We thought you wanted to go to university. Hence why I did acting, because I'm that good an actor. They had no idea that I didn't want to be there.
This is actually a really good point again that you're making, because if you be too much of a pleaser and you're constantly trying to please people, you actually please nobody, because you're pleasing them and they're trying to please you, and neither party is actually doing what they're doing. They both think that they're pleasing each other, and it's total miscommunication, and nobody's happy and nobody's being honest. And, you know, so, you know, the second great point is that, you know, you're not pleasing people by doing what you think you want them to do. You know, you're much better off being honest.
And I think as well it comes with and again, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but it also comes with age. I think being older now, I can handle the burden of disappointing people, and it's not necessarily disappointing them in a bad way, but like you said, being a people pleaser all the time, you can't please everyone all of the time. And I think that's what I was trying to do, is and you're putting on so many masks and changing the way that you're acting around people, and just to make sure that they're happy, when inside you're like, I am miserable, this is killing me, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be doing this. And then someone says it, and then you just start smiling there, that it's,
you're a comedian, and you know, yet you talk about that side of you. But you know, what did you do your degree in?
Performing arts. So I literally did that. It was a very different course. So I say, sorry, it was performance art. So rather than putting on tights and dancing around and doing Shakespeare, it was very much the performances that come from within. So I knew from a very early point in there that I was like, this course doesn't seem right for me. But again, then it was kind of, I'll give it another semester. And then you give it a semester, then you're at the end of the first year, and then you're like, oh, right, okay, well, maybe it was just the first year, I'll go back and I'm doing that down and stuff like that. And mum and dad know now that I didn't want to be at university. I mean, it was, as I said, I love performing arts, but again, it was another way of me being able to put masks on. Just hide and hide and hide behind these masks. And it was just a way of me not confronting and dealing with who do I actually want to be. And it was just a real weird situation to be in, doing that, but it was something that I felt passionate about and I was good at, and it was a way then that I was getting recognition and I was getting the applause, and it was giving me that feel-good factor, but it was giving me that feel-good factor for all the wrong reasons, for all of the for the, oh, well done, you're a great character actor and stuff like that. And that's the thing that everyone said, that I was amazing at kind of playing different characters. And I was like, yeah, because I'm constantly doing that. I do that all of my life. And it's only really, as I said, like the last 5-6 years that I would say that I've had the shake up in my life to turn around and be, well, okay, it's time for you to be you. Don't please everyone. You can't please everyone. You can't change your personality to be the person that other people want you to be. It's time for you to be happy. It's time for you to...
event, was there one thing, was there a turning point? Can you sort of pinpoint a moment in your life when you went, do you know what, I can't hide behind these masks anymore, I can't do this, I've got to find me?
Yeah, I went through a divorce, and I was in a relationship that I was just, again, being treated as a mug, financially, mentally, and it was just, I was just being used and abused, basically. Not abused as in the sense, but I had mug written across my, and it was very much that, oh yes, Steve, you want to do that? Oh yeah, we'll do that, we'll do that. It makes you happy, it makes you happy. And I was just turning myself inside out. I was getting heavily into drink, I was dabbling in drugs. I was like, I really don't want to be doing, I don't want to, this is not me. And I always was always trying to figure out who I was. It took me to figure out the person that I'd become, and hated. I hated myself. And then it was just that spiral. Then I was depressed. I was suspicious of my ex-wife there and that. And then which turned out to be true. And then it was just a real kind of, not a messy breakup. It was one of those ones where I came back and she packed up and just left. I'd been away working abroad, came back and just sat down and went, I swear I had more shit than this. And then all of a sudden, then went around the house and literally she just cleared everything out. So it was at that point. And again, my dad, I went back, sat down with my dad and went, Dad, my life is a mess. Told him what I'd been doing. And he kind of sat down for 2 days. We just sat at my parents' house. I went back home. So I was living away at the time as well. So I went back to my dad's house and just sat down with my dad for 2 days, and it was literally like a business planning meeting. It was what can Tim do to get his life back on track, but more importantly, who is Tim? What does Tim want to do? And don't get me wrong, I was with my ex-wife and we had 10 great years together. We went traveling around the world, and I said I've got not a bad word to say about her. So I wouldn't want it to be I'm coming on here and kind of trying to slag anyone off or anything like that, or say that she was the main reason. I had my own things. I was traveling the world. I was working far too much. So I wasn't putting enough time into a relationship. So she had every right to go off and do whatever she did. So full credit to her. I know now she's like happy married again with kids, and I wish her all the best. And it's one of those ones, if you kind of bump into her in the street, the only words that I could think I would say to her is thank you, because it took that to make me who I am today here talking to you. And this is honestly me.
It's a journey, isn't it? And I think this is your third excellent takeaway from this interview, is that you went and you talked to somebody, and logically, because I think sometimes, especially when you are in a very emotional, depressed state, and you can't figure out what's going on and why, but to have somebody to sit down and logically talk to somebody and think it through and come up with a plan, it can make you turn the corner. It gives you something to work with, work on, rather than just keep tumbling. So that's really good advice as well to anybody that is feeling like
and it's true. It's true what they say as well, is that you need to hit rock bottom before you can start the journey back up. And it was a perfect opportunity. I was not ashamed to admit I was a broken man. Obviously, going through something like that is going to break the strongest of people. But I knew then the people that were closest to me that were there were people that I was close. There were kind of real close mates that weren't there for me as much. And then there were mates that were really there for me that kind of put them up on a pedestal, and they were the ones that I wasn't expecting. I was expecting to hear from my best friends all the time, and they were just like, oh yeah, Tim's going through something, no, laughing and joking and stuff like that. Whereas then there were some other, don't get me wrong, very, very good friends, but the way that they reacted, I was like, wow, there are people out there that are willing to listen to me, to see how down and out I am and just how broken I was, and we're there and go, mate, we're there, we support you, just talk to us. Whereas other friends, I don't think that they could handle dealing with that side of me. They're very much the fun kind of side. Don't get me wrong, they're two of my oldest friends, and I love them to bits, but they were there for me, but just in a very different way to what I actually needed, which was someone to go, I'll travel 2.5 hours down to Hastings and I'll come out on a night out with you, or we'll just sit down and go flat hunting and things like that. It was just a real good opportunity to see the people that were truly there for me. And they're all now ushers and kind of best men and stuff like that at my wedding coming up. Take two.
Yeah. Take two.
But
that's another story, isn't it?
Yeah. We'll I'm sure we'll get onto that one later on down the line of the. God,
we'll have to do another interview just about
exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. There's enough for a series on that one, I think.
There is.
But yeah, it was just a real horrible time, but it gave me the opportunity just to. And it's kind of like an artist just working with a blank canvas. I just tore everything down, and as I said, I'd admitted beforehand that I'd had mental issues, just really bad anxiety and just real problems with truthfully being myself. And again, that was well received by some, ignored by others. And it was at that time then when people are turning and it was before, and don't get me wrong, mental health has always been important, but I think over the last 2-3 years especially has become not necessarily a buzz thing, but I think there's just a lot more recognition. I mean, if you would have turned around 5-6 years ago and gone, I've got problems with anxiety, people were like, what, anxiety is just day-to-day life. No, it's it's not. It's anxiety can hit people in a different way. And it was worrying again about what people are going to think of you and things like that, and where's my career going, what's happening with relationships. And I think it can hit people in 1,000,001 different ways. But what you expect is that when you say to people, or it's always act the way that you always treat people the way that you'd want to be treated. And if someone was come to me and say, Tim, I'm really struggling at the moment, I'd be like, right, okay, what can we do? Do you want to talk? Do you need to? As I said, it would be really like, okay, I'm here to help, not a case of, okay, great, okay, I'm off out now. Which is what happened to me, which then.
I think though that there's also a need to recognise that everybody is different and everybody is unique, and some people won't know how to handle it. And I think it's about finding the people that are there for you and support you and will help you through it, and not. And also recognising that it's not in some people's skill set or understanding. So therefore, just accept that and accept
and I think that took me
I
think that took me a long time to realise is that, as I said, and also as well, it makes you choose the people around you a lot more carefully. I think that if people can't handle it, well within their right to, as I said, it may be something that just people haven't got the mindset to do. I think it was more of a, he's just being dramatic. I think it was just very much more of that, and they weren't taking it seriously. Whereas I think now, if anyone was to turn around to anyone, and where there is just that more awareness of it, and it's not a taboo subject anymore. So as I said, that was dealing with that, and I think that would be, as I said, that was the main thing. But again, it just, as I said, it gave me the opportunity then to start building myself up and just building my personality, my confidence.
But it's very interesting that you sort of saying about building up your confidence, because most people would look at somebody who's a comedian, a performer, and say, well, they must have confidence because they get on stage and they make people laugh and they perform. But there is a difference between doing that and actual true self-confidence. How did it change your life? What direction did your life take once you sort of, as you say,
and again, it's even though you
again, which direction did it take you into? What was the big change?
Oh, sorry, you broke up just on that last. The big change, it was just being honest. It was being honest with myself, being true to myself, and also as well not being a people pleaser. Not,
Right.
don't get me wrong. I'm still that kind of I'm just that person by nature that if I see someone in a room that is looking down, then I'll always be the one with the joke and things like that. But I think that's just my nature. As I said, that's what I find the comedy and things like that pretty easy to get on with. As I said, it's not getting up and telling not jokes for an hour. It's getting up and telling, again, like this, life stories. It's just being honest. And yeah, it taught me, that time in my life taught me not to fear anything, because I knew also as well, once I'd gone through that hit me harder than anything I'd gone through in my life to that point, only surpassed really with my dad passing away, which obviously would take precedent over most things in your life. But it was just to be truthful to myself, to be truthful to others. And I found, since then, I found so much happiness. I found a job that I love. As I said, I found a woman that is just perfect for me. So I think the situation taught me everything I didn't want to be.
Yes.
But moving forward, it was right, okay, let's see, what do you want to do? And as I said, I've never worked in kind of the software industry beforehand. 4 years later, I'm going strong in that industry. So I really enjoy that. Got a great team that I work with. And it was to make sure that the people that you are with are the people that you're truthful with. And I wouldn't consider myself to be any different. Obviously, when you go into client meetings and things like that, you go into business Tim and things like that. And I've still got stupid, childish Tim. But I would say pretty much across the line, whether it's with my day-to-day employers, friends, family, my mum, my partner, in-laws, or anything like that, I'm pretty much the same guy now all the way through, where I would be changing and I would be out with one group of people and I'd see another group of people that I know and they'd be like, that's not the Tim I know, why are you acting like that? Because I was just trying to change around and just make sure everyone else was happy, and I was putting everyone else's happiness before my own, which I think is a thing that is
the biggest lesson you've learned.
Just biggest lesson I've learned, is that if I'm happy, generally the people around me are happy. So that was the main thing. I think that I tried to please everyone and tried to change the way that I was, and it then made me lose friends. I was alienated, and I just became a yes man. And and it's like, as I said, in hindsight, and you don't know it's happening while it's going on. That's the thing, and it's probably the thing with a lot of mental illness, with kind of domestic abuse and things like that, is that you don't know it's happening until you step away from it and look into it and go, was I really that bad? So it was so as I said, I would it was
and
horrendous to go through,
to this wonderful podcast that you've got a great name, Red Sheep Stories.
Yes.
Tell me about Red Sheep Stories.
Red Sheep Stories is coming soon, so I'm hoping by the end of August we'll have a couple of episodes out. I'm just working on a couple of friends to interview first. It's basically the Red Sheep. So my family are Welsh, so that's where the sheep came from. And being a massive Liverpool fan, so I put the two together. And as I said, it's more of a kind of the title is a bit of a tribute to my dad. Obviously, we're both massive Liverpool fans, him being Welsh. It's also as well just Red Sheep Stories. So I'm going to try and get some of my dad's friends on there to talk about kind of stories of my dad growing up, because me and him were kind of very much two peas in a pod. And it's kind of weird that you get that kind of Back to the Future Marty McFly looking at a picture of himself 50 years in the past, and it is me and my dad are that identical that I know that I would look amazing in velvet flares and long hair. So it's looking back at pictures of my dad like that. So it's really a chance to talk to people very much like this, Jackie. I just feel as though, as I mentioned earlier, if I would have the opportunity to talk or listen to someone going through similar stuff that I am, then it would have been a great help. I think that communication is key, no matter whether it's what industry you're in. Obviously, over a podcast, I'm guessing the communication is probably one of the top two that you would imagine that would need to be on your list. But it's just a chance to talk to people, to have fun with people. I don't want it to be too serious. I want there to be silly stories in there, funny stories of when you were drunk, you ended up with a traffic cone on your head, or And even serious stories, it just, as I said, life shouldn't be taken too seriously. I think there's enough to worry about in life. If you can't sit down and have a conversation with someone for half an hour, just to talk about your life. And as I said, obviously we only spoke briefly before coming on here, but you don't feel as though there's any kind of, I don't know you don't know me. It's just a case of, let's talk, let's be honest, let's share some stories, and hopefully by sharing those stories, we can help other people to overcome things. Or if people are worried about things, then it will give them the mindset to go, I'm not the only one, there's other people going through it. So I think it's a real great opportunity. And also as well,
sharing your experiences definitely helps to support. It makes people feel less fearful, less alone. So you can come up with ideas. Some people you might have said something that just triggers something in somebody, and they go, "Oh, actually, yes, I feel like that. About time I did something."
And again, I've spoken to people that are a lot younger than me that are going through the kind of college, apprenticeship, university thing, and people have turned around to me and gone, "Tim, I'm not happy doing what I'm doing." And all I've turned around to him and said, talk to your parents. Talk to your parents. Talk to your parents. It can change. And I think, like I said before, it's a very generational thing that I think, especially kind of my parents' era, were very much you get a job, you stay in that job for life, you find a woman, you marry her. And because that's the way that their parents were brought up, that's the way they were brought up. But the world is totally different now. There's no such thing as a job for life, as I'm sure a lot of people are realizing during the pandemic. But also as well, there's different ways to go about things. I mean, I turned around at school when you have the careers advisor go in, and everyone goes in and they're like, I want to be a footballer, I want to be a fireman. Who said to me, what do you want to do, Tim? And at the age of 13, I turned around and said, I want to travel the world.
Right, excellent.
All I wanted to do was just travel.
I didn't have a clue. Well done.
Exactly, yeah. I was just, and again, how can you ask a 13-year-old, what would you like to do as a career?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, Only learned how to tie my own shoelaces 4 years ago. And then also as well, you leave college, and then like when you're at GCSE level, they're like, right, okay, what do you want to study to become for the rest of your life? It's like I had initially down sports science, geography, and chemistry, biology, and then literally did my performing arts drama course at school, and then the examiner said, oh no, I need to speak to your parents, you can't be doing that. And then I managed to change it then to go and do performing arts, because that was a kind of decision that I wanted to make. And again, my mum and dad were like, you need to get yourself a career, you need to kind of go and get your 3 A levels and things like that. And I was like, but mum, I want to run around in tights and dance and sing and things like that. And it took a while then. It was a compromise and things like that. So I was very fortunate to go to university and to have the luck to travel the world backpacking for 2.5 years. And I would say now that I learned more about myself traveling, and also learned more about myself and life traveling than I did through any education. Because again, it's a big wide world. And don't get me wrong, there are people that are quite homely people, and all they want to do is just finish school and meet someone that they went to school with, have a kid, and they're quite homely, kind of very much. They want to stay in the bubble that they've been in all their life. And any move out of that, they start freaking out. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. It's about
taking opportunities and experience. If you don't try, you never know.
Exactly. Yeah.
You never know what you like and don't like unless you try.
Exactly. I'd rather try and fail than
not try at all.
And resent it. So,
it's been really great talking to you. It's been a great conversation. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
And
I'm sure that we can do this again and talk about other things. Just going to put some of the viewers and listeners out for misery, because we mentioned your wedding earlier, but we didn't go into detail.
Yes.
Because you had your wedding cancelled, 15 hours because of COVID?
15 hours before I was due to walk down the aisle. So, we were due to get married on Saturday, the 23rd of March. And at 6 o'clock on the 22nd, our dear old friend Boris decided to shut everything down. So, unfortunately, I mean, I said I'll go into more detail. It'd be great to do an episode on that. And again,
we will.
I think we could probably rattle off another one on that. But yeah, it
Absolutely. I think
was
it's a
a
few
really
things.
tough and testing time. But again, it's one of those ones, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Or if it doesn't make you stronger,
Absolutely. And that's an excellent line to part company with, because I totally agree with
brilliant.
that. Absolutely.
Excellent.
Been great talking to
Brilliant.
you. Can't wait to listen
Yeah.
to Red Sheep stories, because I think, we're on the
Absolutely.
same page. I shall thoroughly enjoy those.
Perfect.
Thank you
Brilliant.
very
Jackie,
much.
so thanks for talking to me.
You're welcome. It's been I've really enjoyed it. So don't
Good,
forget,
good,
if you've
good.
enjoyed this video and podcast, please subscribe, hit like, and see you on the next one.